Hello, I am Igor Alcantara. I am the Director of Data Science and Education at IPC Global, and I'm also a Qlik Partner Ambassador and Qlik Community MVP. And today I will show you a quick demo of Qlik Analytics. But however, this is a different demo because the focus here is less the features available and more the data journey. And what I want to show you is that Qlik can help you and help your company in any stage you are in your data journey. And when I say data journey, let me explain exactly what I mean. So let's say you or your company, you just got your data in a digital format. So instead of having all of your data in papers, you got your data in a computer. So you got your tables, database, spreadsheets, whatever it is, or maybe a combination of all of this. You got your data. So in terms of analytics, in terms of analyzing your data, what is the first thing you want to do? Well, you want to see your data. You want to have your data presented and described. So that's what we call the descriptive analytics. And that's where most of the companies are currently. They are in a descriptive analytics stage. What I mean by that is basically I have a data and you see in the data, and you see the data, it could be a pretty dashboard or it could be a report, but basically you're seeing the data that you have at the moment, so the present data, but you also can see the past data. So you can see like trends, you can see like historically how you're performing and all of that. But that's basically descriptive analytics, which is great. We all love our descriptive analytics. This is just one example of a Qlik app that it's basically a dashboard that's showing descriptive analytics. Everything that I'm showing here represents the present or the past. So basically, I'm showing how many patients I have, what is their average cholesterol, the average BMI, and also breaking down by some demographics, like, for example, the education level, gender, showing how many of them smoke and didn't. It looks great. And it's very valuable for a lot of companies. However, let's say I'm realizing that I do have almost 800 patients with CVD. CVD is cardiovascular disease. And let's say, well, that's a problem. I want to work with that. Well, all of the work from this point on happens then outside of your analytics. Your analytics does not help you as much. So you need to perform all of the work outside of the analytics. So that's where the descriptive analytics stops. And everybody was happy with descriptive analytics for many, many years, but now we can do better. We're not talking the 1990s or early 2000s. We are in the second decade of the century. So we can do way better than that. So the next logical step is, well, I'm not happy of just looking at the present and past data. How about the future? What is likely to happen in the future? So then we can use some statistical modeling. In this case, we can use, let me just use the fancy term for that. We can use machine learning, we can use AI to have predictions of patients who are likely to develop a cardiovascular disease in the next 5 years. And that's what we're doing here. And we did it all in the Qlik platform. So I created a module, which I will show you in a few minutes, in Qlik Predict, previously known as Qlik AutoML. So Qlik Predict, I created a module to perform a binary classification predicting if a patient will develop a cardiovascular disease in a horizon of 5 years in the future. So I have the prediction here. So this patient will probably develop or not develop. So that's the probability based on the module. Not only that, it gives me also the probability. So I can take like this patient, for example, and look at this patient is a male, over 94% probability according to the module. And I can look at some of these patient information. That is great. And that is where a lot of tools, platforms stop. But it's great because it's better than what we had before, which is descriptive. So this is what we call the predictive analytics. So we went from descriptive to predictive. We went from present and past to also future. I'm not replacing the descriptive. It is still important. I'm adding on top of it the predictive analytics. Then I present this to a doctor, and the doctor said, "I'm okay. Well, really, that patient, 94%? I'm not so sure. I am not so sure. Why? Why the model predicted that?" And then that's where a lot of tools they stop and said, "Well, the model predicted. I don't know. The model predicted is kind of some of a black box. There is no transparency." Well, I want to go further. I want to go to the third level in my analytics journey. So that's where Qlik Predict has like a huge advantage in comparison to some of the tools, because Qlik Predict actually gives you the explanation why the model did that prediction. That's what we're seeing in this green bar chart right here. So number of hospitalization is the most important feature. That's the most important feature that the model considered to make a prediction. And the age is the second. Time since the last visit is number 3, and those are the top 3. And then we have angina and the sex. Those are some other important features. Okay, now I understand why the model made the prediction. And then I might realize, well, you know what? This information here does not make sense because I only know this after I actually need to make a prediction. So let's remove that. Let's train the model again. Let's see what we get. And then we can have like interactive methodology using that. And we can even plug some more like basic statistical features and knowledge. For example, we do some statistical testing. So I'm realizing that most of my patients predicted, that's what I have on the table here, to develop cardiovascular disease are men. So they represent most of the patients, but they have the lowest population in terms of gender. So I have less than 1,000 males, and I have 1.5 thousand female, but still we have more patients predicted to develop cardiovascular disease. almost 58% against 42%. If we do hypothesis testing and test, is this difference significant enough, and realize actually it is very small p-value. So that's some other things we can edit all within the Qlik platform. Great. But then we know each patient is different. The number of hospitalization might be the most important feature overall, but we might get a patient that is the cholesterol level, or maybe it's because the patient is a heavy smoker. So we don't know for every single patient. But that's what a lot of the tools provide you. They provide you the explanation for the model, but Qlik goes beyond, because the idea of this is not only to present a prediction in like a summary explanation, but it's to drive actionable insights, drive something that you can actually change the outcome of your business. This could be customer journey. This could be something regarding HR, supply chain, manufacturing. This could be applied to many different industries. I picked the healthcare because I think it's a simpler example to explain and understand. All right, so we have this number of people predicted to develop cardiovascular disease with certain probability. But what does it actually mean? Hospitalization is number one. It means that more hospitalization, you have a higher chance. Less hospitalization, you have a lower chance, or the opposite. What does it mean age? What specific age group has a higher chance than other groups? What about time since last visit? Less time or more time is more likely. So you don't know the details. But then Qlik Predict goes another step further and gives you that explanation for every single row. So when you submit your data and you get a prediction back, you get the prediction, the probability, and you get the explanation for every single row. And because I have for every single row, then I can slice and dice and I can do whatever I wanted to do in order to present the data. That's what I have in the distribution chart on the right here. So I can see the top features, but now broken down by patient. The ones that are above 0, the ones in blue are, well, this feature is increasing the chance of the patient having the condition. The ones in red, the negative, are the ones decreasing the chance of the patients having that condition. So then I can go back here and, for example, select that patient with 94%. And then when I go there to analyze for that particular patient, I can see, well, number of hospitalization is increasing the chance by far. So then I can analyze how many hospitalizations that patient had. And then I can go some prevalent conditions here that are actually number two is different than the overall module. So it jumps all the way up. So then we can have that analysis for every single patient. Then we go from simply predicting, which is not simple at all, but we go from descriptive prediction. Now we go to diagnostic. I can diagnose why a prediction was made, why we think this is a likely event to happen in the future. And you say, Igor, this is great. However, you probably had to hire an army of data scientists. There was a lot of like R or Python programming running behind the scenes. You know what? There was zero coding in order to perform this test. Let me open Qlik Predict and show you that module. So if I go to Qlik Predict, you notice that, let me select the version that I actually deployed. You see that I have many different algorithms. Before you're testing, you don't actually have any way to know which one applies best for that problem you're trying to predict. In this case, it's cardiovascular disease. So Qlik did all of those, and I have different versions until I get the version that I like. And at the end of the day, it found Cat Boost classification as the best model. So it found Cat Boost classification. It was the best model overall, is also the most accurate and the fastest model. Great, and gave me this score, the F1 score of 82.6%, which is a pretty good one. And I can see some statistics here. For example, one that is very important to me in this case, the percentage of true negative, the percentage of true positive. And then you can make a decision. This doesn't make sense. I'm happy with this model. In that case, I look at the true positive. The true positive is the one that is more important to me because there's some life changes that I recommend. So I want to focus on that. Sometimes you want to focus on the true negative. I'm saying you do not have disease. I want to make sure. So you might analyze other models, and might find this other one, the XG Boost classification, and I come here and say, well, you know what? I lose like 2% of true negative. It's still pretty good, 96%, but I get a better true positive. I think I'll stick with that. Thanks, Qlik Predict. You gave me an amazing recommendation. I'm sure this will be an amazing model, but I like this better. And then I deploy. That's what this symbol means. I deploy. That became an asset available in the Qlik Cloud, and I can consume it. So pretty good, pretty good, not bad. And you have all of the tools here. This is not a Qlik Predict specific demo. So let me close this and go back here. All right. So now I'm in the third stage of my analytics journey. So I went from descriptive to predictive. Now I am in diagnostic. And then I'm working with the patient, and the patient asks me, okay, this is pretty good, but however, what can I do in order to improve my outcome? And I say, you know what? Let's give this some try. Let's run some simulations. Which is in this case, it's much safer instead of just asking or trying different medications. They might have some side effects. Sometimes some long-term side effects can affect your liver, can make your condition worse. So we play with some serious stuff here. So I want to make some, based on the model, I want to make some simulations here just to see, based on the model, what the model says. And this is another tool. It doesn't replace the need of a physician. It doesn't replace a need for an expert. It doesn't replace the human intelligence. So in that case, the artificial intelligence is not replacing the human intelligence, but is enhancing with another tool. Just like when they invented X-ray, it didn't replace physician, but then it became an important, powerful tool. So we can combine artificial intelligence in this specific case to human intelligence to have something more hybrid. That's what we believe. So this is one example. Got a patient here to show you a patient with a probability of almost 80% chance of developing cardiovascular disease in the next 5 years. So we're predicting this patient should develop cardiovascular disease. And we know it's a male patient. They had some preconditions, 45 years old, and high cholesterol, high blood pressure, high BMI, and also a smoker. So all of the like red flags. But we can run simulations. So we're going to say, you know what? I know some of these variables. They're here, but I cannot really change. I would love to come here. I would love to do that to myself. You're 45 years old. Let's try make you 2 years younger. We cannot control that. You get older 1 year every single year, so we cannot control that. But you know what I can control? I can talk to my patient and say, why don't we try like stop smoking? What will happen? Then probably drop not as much as I expected. So 71%. Okay, but look at your cholesterol. Let's put you on a diet. That will maybe drop your BMI a little bit. So let's try to bring it down to 27, maybe. Let's be a little bit realistic. And maybe the cholesterol, if we can bring that back to normal values, let's see how that reflects. And every time I make a change in here, I'm basically sending this data to the Qlik Predict deployed module, getting the prediction back with the probability, the explanation, and everything. And then I can come here. What about the blood pressure? Yeah, let's cut this out and let's do a specific diet for high blood pressure. 163 is extremely high. Maybe we can drop that to 129, 130. Look at that. Still not safe, still high, but much better than the close to 80%. So then we can continue. Maybe if you drop your BMI a little bit more in the next after the next visit, and so we can reduce this. But then I'm not playing with the patient health. I'm doing this. Transport that to customer churn, to employee turnover, and all of the other scenarios we can apply. This is great. But then I am talking to this patient, and the patient says, I understand that I'm a smoker. I understand that I have a high risk of cardiovascular disease. But let's try to focus to something that is easier to me. How about the cholesterol? How can I reduce my cholesterol? Of course, the doctor will have an idea about that, but maybe there's some new technique, there's some new paper that was found, etc. Imagine if you can have a knowledge base with all of that knowledge. And in your company, let's say you're not talking about healthcare, it could be the policies, it could be support desk, product documentation, it could be many different things. And you can actually have conversation with those. So then we go to, this is the fourth level, the what if, then we go into something more precise that we can do this what if scenarios. What about if we can plug some other type of AI? And this is Qlik Answers. We can talk to your data. So let's give it a try. For example, I have some predefined questions here, conversation starters. Let's try something like, what are some good strategies for a 45 years old male who smokes a pack of cigarettes a day with high risk of CVD to reduce his cholesterol level? So I can ask that question. And then now Qlik Answers is consulting the knowledge base that I provided, and it's giving me some strategy. For male high cholesterol, this is what you're going to do. Improve physical activity levels, developing healthier diet, managing your body weight, etc. And then you say, well, ChatGPT has exactly the same features. Why do I need Qlik Answers? Well, ChatGPT also can hallucinate. ChatGPT was not in other tools like Perplexity, Claude, and other tools. They were not designed to provide answers based on facts. They were designed to provide you a answer. And it could be fiction. It could be something fabricated. It could be something totally untrue. That's what we call when they hallucinate. But Qlik Answer, you don't have to trust it. You can verify. So this answer was based on 2 sources. You can come here, verify the sources. Wow, there's 2 papers, and then I know exactly where in the paper the source for this was found. Pretty good. So we have some strategies how to handle cholesterol. And think about if you're talking about like a customer churning, you can have a conversation talking, well, what will be the impact of changing this customer from plan A to plan B, or changing from monthly to annual subscription or something like that. And then you can have conversation with data. You have a more data-driven or a more informed decision. So let me try another question here. Let me come here and maybe ask, some strategies for the patient to stop smoking, because not only dropping the cholesterol, weight, also, the patient should stop smoking. And then the Qlik Answers now is looking for the answer, and if it finds something, it will give me the answer. However, it says, I'm sorry, I don't have enough information to answer this. It basically told me, I don't know. And this is great, because I want to know if you don't know something, if you don't have the data to back your answer, tell me you don't have the information. Don't fabricate something, and especially don't go outside on the internet to get my answer, because you know what www stands for is the word wild web. All jokes aside, we have no control of the information outside of your scope, because you can get something fake. You can get something that says that vaccines do not work and things like that, crazy stuff. I don't want any of that. I want to have knowledge management. I want to control what I'm presenting. So that's what Qlik Answers did. So let's go ahead and open Qlik Answers. And so I couldn't get that answer because I didn't have a knowledge associated to it. I couldn't even go back there and say, you know what, I'll give a thumbs down here. I'll say this was unhelpful. You might even write a comment saying, well, I need information about this. Great. And then me as knowledge manager, I can come here. I take a look at the reviews users gave. Oh, I got a negative review here. And then I can come back and take a look at of that specific question and answer. Or I can see also the whole conversation if I want to. I just need to turn this on. I can see the whole conversation so I can understand the context. And I can say, you know what? I agree with this. I think we should have that information. Let me add a second knowledge base that I have here. So I do have something like, maybe something about cancer will have that. Actually, we know there is. So I have another knowledge base that we built. Now, this assistant has knowledge based on 2 knowledge bases. So I can come back there and I can ask the same question again. And look at that. I said this patient. So I'm basically using the context. So then Qlik Answer will know it's the same patient. We'll know it's 45 years old, who smokes and all that. Now, I got an answer because I added the knowledge. So I have control. That's actual knowledge management. So I have control of that. And then we go to another level in your data maturity journey. So, and that is the beauty of the Qlik platform. You might tell me, Igor, this is great, but this is too much. And we're not ready for that. I mean, we just got all of data electronically, and we have multiple sources. We have bigger problems to handle right now. Maybe we do like some other solution that we already have or something like that to say, okay, I mean, of course, you're free to do that. However, eventually you want to go to the next level. And then when you want to go to the next level, if you start with a platform that is not ready for the next level, that is not end-to-end, then you need to go to another vendor, maybe get a different professional, because a professional that works with 2-way, not necessarily knows 2B. And sometimes in order to connect the 2, you need the third level, and you need like different people, different vendors, different licensing products. Sometimes advancements of one might make that one not be able to connect to the previous one, and it's a whole mess. If you get like end-to-end platform, even if you're not ready for everything at the moment, but you have the same platform there ready for you when you are, and then you can keep evolving your company in the data journey. So I hope you like this video. If you want to know more, just send me a message and we can talk. Goodbye.